Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome. We will call the meeting to order, and I will begin by acknowledging that we are in Mi'kma'ki in the district of Sipekne'katik, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. East Hants further acknowledges the 50 African Nova Scotian communities whose 400-year history have contributed to the province's culture, history, and legacies. We are all treaty people. We'll now have a moment of silence for silent contemplation. We'll now set the time and date for the next council meetings. The regular meeting of Council for Policy and in camera will be April the 14th, 2026, and the regular meeting of council will be April 22nd, 2026. The next item is the approval of or amendments to the agenda. Does anyone have any amendments to the agenda? Seeing none, I declare the agenda approved. Next is the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of Council for Policy and in camera February the 17th, 2026, and the regular meeting of Council on February 25th, 2026. Does anyone have any errors or omissions or amendments to the minutes? Seeing none, I declare the minutes approved. Next on our agenda this evening, we do have guests in council chambers. Welcome. And we have a presentation from the East Hants Ground Search and Rescue Group. So I will, if you folks would push that button, that makes it a lot easier for me to turn your mic on. Thank you. And go ahead.
All right, good evening, everybody. I appreciate your guys' time this evening. So we're just gonna quickly run through this presentation and we can ask some questions at the end. All right, so East Hants Ground Search and Rescue. Just to kind of highlight some of the things that we do on the team. So search and rescue, operationally ready searches, and leaders prepared for whatever challenges come their way. Resource availability is something else that we pride ourselves on with over 45 trained volunteers. Availability becomes second nature. It's what we strive for is readiness in this forever changing environment. Community outreach from Easter egg hunts to community events and everything in between. East Hants is made up of local volunteers that strive in supporting the community. East Hants Ground Search and Rescue also has made some investments in a comfort center. East Hants manages and maintains a comfort center at the local search base, offering a peace of mind when the unknown strikes. And then next level community outreach such as wellness checks, Project Lifesaver, Hug a Tree, and assisting community members proactively reducing the risk of a missing vulnerable person. That said, our leadership is made up of an organizational committee of elected individuals that guides the decisions and resources and effective resources for search and rescue operations. Then as for the search team, in the event of a search, we have search managers that coordinate strategies and logistics during incidents, ensuring smooth operation and resource allocation. Following that, we have search leaders that direct the ground teams, implement tactics, and maintain communication with the management team during the searches. And then the searchers themselves, which is the boots on the ground and the backbone of the organization. East Hants Ground Search and Rescue Operations, conducting ground searches, evidence tracking and resource tasks under the direction of the search leaders. They are highly trained volunteers who operate in diverse environments and conditions to safely locate and assist the missing person. So a quick snapshot of 2025. So in 2025, the team did 22,292 hours of searches, 55,302 hours of volunteer work. That's outside of the search envelope. So that is like different community outreach programs, so on and so forth. We were involved in 10 searches and 12 community events, again, outside of the search and rescue, actually search and rescue boots on the ground activity. That said, last time we came to council and I was able to present something to you guys, we presented a 5-year plan. In that 5-year plan, in year one, we our request for the funding, we looked at internet for the base, alarm systems, churnout gear, command and logistics, a building of those new support equipment, first aid training, training TVs, laptops. In year 3, we planned on training room improvements, office rooms, transport vehicles, and GPSs. And a 5-year plan, we were looking at a concrete slab to kind of better support our group and our vehicles and equipment that we have. Rewiring of plugs outside and some electrical upgrades that needed to be happening at the base, and some Argos and remote rescue equipment. That said, over those 5 years, since I was able to get in front of you guys and present this, we were able to achieve the building and logistics command bus, acquire turnout gear in both 2019 and 2025. We updated the GPSs. We purchased 2 support vehicles along with an equipment trailer to, again, help support our evolving and growing team. Adopting of a drone program, replacement of expired PDFs, which is something that was overlooked at the time, and the acquisition of ATVs for enhanced field support, and radio updates. Significant upgrades to the community hall, as earlier mentioned. So the installation of a comfort center generator, modernized training rooms, upgraded heating systems for efficiencies, and then new computers, training projectors, TVs, etc. Adapting to search and rescue. So we are all aware, environmental changes is something that we're all facing in this day and age. So unpredicted weather is shifting landscapes and creating obstacles for search and rescue operations across Canada. That said, technology, tools like drones, digital mapping, increase operational reach and efficiency of search and rescue is another element that we are looking at as adapting to the changing environment and adapting to the expectations of the community. So organizations must evolve to meet the public's expectations to ensure timely support for the communities in need, and those things like the comfort center, the things that we've strived to work on to increase our effectiveness inside the community. So the changing environment is transforming search and rescue. So the picture that you see on the slide is a real picture from a search that we were involved in a couple years ago. So this is a true indicator of some of the things that we're seeing with climate change and the changing of the environment. Search and rescue teams operating in a world that looks very different even a decade ago. Environmental shifts, new technology influence how we prepare responses to support the regions. Understanding these changes help us stay ahead of the emerging risk and maintain a high standard of service to the community that they can rely on. Sorry about that. All right, so investing in technology, again, mostly to help kind of support the direction and the changes that we've seen in search and rescue over the years. So responding to climate change, ground search and rescue, now invest in water rescue, remote rescue tools, drone, advanced technology and training. Significant R&D has gone into research and development, has gone into mapping, communication technology to improve field effectiveness. And then SAR's facility, again, has been modernized to serve as a comfort center during disasters. And we'll touch on that again, on all those again going forward. So upgrade to the comfort center. So enhanced emergency facilities. The rescue base is enhanced to serve as a comfort center, supporting the community during emergencies and crises. Reliable power supply. A new generator guarantees consistent power, keeping the center operational in situations and outages. Rapid response readiness. The base is equipped to launch rescue operations and offer immediate support in the community whenever needed. Inclusiveness in ground search and rescue. So as a member of this team, this is something that I certainly, and I believe that the rest of the team really strive to. So inclusiveness to the East Hants Ground Search and Rescue is paramount. The team welcomes volunteers from all backgrounds, reflecting diversity of our local communities and fostering inclusiveness. Adapting for variant terrain, ground search and rescue operations operates across forests, royal landscapes, requiring flexible skills and specialized training in the event. In every part of the mission, from computer technology to forestry. So not all teams within search and rescue kind of adopt this. We take the approach that everybody has a place in ground search and rescue. Strengthen teamwork. Their inclusive approach enhances teamwork, improves effectiveness, and helping them serve the entire community. Partnership and mutual aid. So East Hants Ground Search and Rescue recognizes that a single team can't always meet every challenge alone. Effectiveness depends on the strong partnership skills and the ability to operate seamlessly with neighboring agencies. That's why we place a high value on joint training opportunities to build our collective capacity to respond. Unlocking G-STAR's potential. So expanding remote rescue services. So enhancing ground search and rescue's capability in remote rescue operations can save lives. Inaccessible areas of save lives in inaccessible areas of East Hants. Natural disaster relief. Ground search and rescue increased role in disaster relief provides essential aid to supporting the communities emerging in a crisis, and community outreach and education. By improving outreach and education, G-STAR can foster a strong local partnership and better community preparedness. And physical first aid, so something that is very important. Trained by ASSIST, A-S-I-S-T, East Hants Ground Search and Rescue offers physiological first aid, giving East Hants Ground Search and Rescue teams a structured, evidence-informed way to recognize and stable individuals experience physiological distress during search events. A number of our searches that we participate in are not actually lost people. It's despondence in a lot of cases. So preparing ourselves to be able to respond to that is paramount to the organization. Proactive community outreach with Project Lifesaver and Hug a Tree, as mentioned in the previous slide there. Project Lifesaver of Nova Scotia, so supporting individuals at risk of wandering, use radio frequency bracelets for rapid locations, dramatically reduces search times and increased safety. East Hants Ground Search and Rescue provides train, respond, and specialized tracking equipment. And then another component to the additional community outreach is the Hug a Tree and Survival, which is through Adventure Smart, sorry. So teaches children what to do if lost in the woods. Key messages: stay put, stay warm, be visible, help searches, and then reduce panic and improves outcomes during the searches. Community impact. Enhances safety of vulnerable individuals and families, strengthens partnerships with schools, caregivers, and first responder, promotes proactive education and prevention across East Hants. Anyways, and that brings us to the end of the slide.
Thank you very much. Councillor Garden Cole.
Thank you, Madam Warden. Well, thank you very much for the presentation. It was very well put together and a great visual presentation as well, so I appreciate that. So just a couple of questions. My main one being, you listed off a lot of things that you have, a lot of material things you have acquired during the last, since the last time you were here to council. What is how do you raise your funds?
Great question. So there's a number of ways that it's done. So we do a number of community outreach programs, which include, like, we do some barbecues, the Easter egg hunt, and those types of things. There's also another piece of the funding envelope comes from an organization that, what is it called again? Fennerty Marketing. So they do like the outreach, going out to the different communities looking for fundraising and so on and so forth. That is at the provincial level, and then the funding gets divided between teams and so on and so forth. And we also are involved in something similar to the firefighters draw, which is involves search and rescue as well.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, so you don't get any funding from government bodies?
So there is some funding from like the provincial. There's a small funding envelope from the provincial government.
Oh, and maybe
Was it
that's the one you were
three
referring
thousand
to.
dollars? Yeah, and then during within the 5 years, there was some funding envelopes as well from they're like COVID programs and so on and so forth from the federal government as well. But from a provincial level, it's quite small. And then fundraising and then municipal level as well.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Counselor Mitchell.
Thank you, Madam Warden. Thanks for the presentation, and I want to commend you on the service that you provide for the province of Nova Scotia, and especially in the county of East Hants. My first question is your vehicles. I noticed looking at the pictures that they look like they're getting dated. Any idea when you'd be upgrading to a newer vehicle based on funding?
Right now, where we are, we just have to maintain them. Like,
Okay.
to go out and buy a new vehicle, we don't have the funds for that. Like, it's just, the resources aren't there, so. When we get our vehicles, we source out good used vehicles and repair them as needed.
Who does your maintenance on your vehicles?
I do some, we do as much as we can in-house. I'm a
Okay,
mechanic, my son's a mechanic, members of the team help out. We do what we can in, and what we don't, we farm out to local businesses.
Yeah, and just to highlight that, we actually have one of our support vehicles right now that's inside of a maintenance. And so we farm that out. The buses, for example, and some, like, just to kind of paint a picture of some of the challenges with maybe funding newer vehicles, is like just the maintenance alone on that type of vehicle, yearly safety inspections, rigorous safety checks that are on it. Again, big vehicles, big expenses, so on and so forth. So in order to sustain that, there's some challenges with it. We would like to move into something new. There's a lot of teams out there that do have Colchester, for example, which is our neighboring search and rescue team, which we do have a mutual aid agreement with. They do have newer vehicles, but they also receive a significant amount of funding comparatively to our organization, which makes it a lot more sustainable for them to buy a newer vehicle. But on a $70,000 truck is pretty much the base model of what we would start with, plus a bill on top of that, which you're looking at between $20,000 and $30,000. So you're into the $100,000 range of payment on a truck like that. Is like a 10-year finance, you're looking at $1,200 to $1,400 a month, right? So that's a significant thing. And then maintaining a search and rescue base with power, internet, cables, or whatever the tools and items that you need, like an operation. From an operational point of view, we're looking at upwards of $20,000 to $30,000 of just maintaining our organization. You know what I mean? Keeping us in a house with oil and heat and still being able to support the community.
do you carry insurance on your volunteers?
Everything, yeah.
So they're insured for
Through
whatever?
Saravac,
Yeah.
Search and Rescue Volunteer Association, Saravac covers that.
Okay,
On
But-
insurance, we're paying over up to $7,000.
Yeah,
a
that's
year
for the
on-
vehicles and the.
Just on vehicles.
okay. There's information there on training. Who do you train with and who's your trainer? Or do you
So Terry Hartland is in the back. He is the training officer for the team. It previously was me, and a number of years ago, I think actually last time when I got in front of you guys, I was the training officer for the team. But as like from joint training, for example, next month, I believe in May, I'm getting ahead of myself. We do have some joint training going on with Mount Uniacke, so we're gonna go to their open house, we're gonna do some demonstrations with them. In the PowerPoint presentation, there was another fire department. They're doing some like water rescue stuff to kind of, again, being in East Hants with the highest tides, multiple rivers, so on and so forth. Being ready for that remote water rescue thing is super important to us. Colchester, for example, we do a number of training exercises with them, and then various training or various search and rescue groups across the province.
Do you have a fuel budget is my next question.
Well, that we buy fuel. We
Right.
don't have a set amount of fuel, set aside for just fuel. But we do, we are paying for the fuel. It's coming out of the team's pocket. The last search that we were on, this past Sunday, the buses alone took over $300 in fuel.
So when you put a request in for reimbursement from, let's say, the RCMP, what's your time frame to get that money recouped back into your pockets to be reused on another search?
That's pending.
Yeah, it's anywhere between, I've seen them go over 90 days.
Okay.
Yeah,
We'll go well over.
yeah.
And my last question, don't mind me asking, is, are you coming here with an ask to council? Or
Not this evening, sir.
not this evening?
No, I think we reached out and asked them if they could bring us an update report after their presentation a number of years ago.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, review, I believe, yeah.
Okay, once again, I thank you for your service and I wish you well going forward.
Thank you.
I
Thank you
appreciate
very
all
much.
you do.
Thank you.
Counselor Hebb.
Thank you, Madam Warden. Through you to the presenters, great presentation, very informative. I know the RCMP has to be the ones to call you to a scene, and if it's in you're the first ones there, you have the you are the command center for that?
In East Hampton.
Yeah, you're command. So if you need assistance, is it the RCMP that has to call other ones for assistance, or can you people do that yourselves?
We would request it, and the
Okay.
RCMP make the call,
Okay,
but they're there on site, so it's.
Yeah.
a matter of-
so it would be, after all, it'd be their decision, really, is what it would
At
be.
the end of the day.
But they certainly should recommend, or they should, with your recommendation, they should extend it, yeah.
Yeah, this day and age, there's most times when there's a search call out, there's multiple teams called,
Right,
especially in our zone. Like we were up in Harmony on the weekend and there was 3 teams. They
Right.
called 3 teams right away, so.
yeah, good.
To get the numbers, to get the boots on the
Yeah,
ground.
well, that's right.
So that said, if time allows, then I can just kind of build on that. So that's, being dispatched by the RCMP is actually one of the challenges why I believe that we are an underutilized resource. So in the event, like I'm just gonna kind of throw out something, like if there was a forest fire or whatever like that, the fire department would be dispatched or whatever, ground, lands and forests, so on and so forth. And then fire departments would go around and start, doing knocking on doors and getting people out of an evacuation zone. So that falls underneath the fire department. Where we fall underneath ground search and rescue, we're underutilized. Like that would be absolutely something that we'd be more than willing and able to do. In fact, I believe that we're probably just as qualified, if not more qualified, than them to deal with these type of things, especially with our assist program and so on and so forth. But because it's through the RCMP, it's kind of like you got to go through another AOG in order to dispatch ground search and rescue. So sometimes, like, again, like when you look at what we do collectively as a team, that's really just the tip of the iceberg of what we're able to do. And I think that if there was more ability to dispatch us through, the municipality in the event of an emergency, vice RCMP, or through fire in some other sort of mutual agreement, that we could expand on those resources and be able to provide you guys with way more services than what we currently do.
And I'm assuming you fellows have voiced your opinion on that.
Totally,
Yeah.
totally. And in fact, these guys have gone, to countless fire halls, and that's where we really see our most success. Going to a fire department and be like, this is our equipment, this is our remote litter to get people out of the woods. Like we've seen an upper 9 Mile River, paramedics trying to get people out and firefighters trying to get people out with a broken ankle on a bicycle, right? Like, so sit on the seat, we'll push you out. When ground search and rescue has specific equipment designed for that type of thing, right? So again, like just, because fire gets called and nothing against fire. Like we love the fire department. We would love to train with them even more than what we currently do. But they just don't understand the resources. And that's why it's important for us. And every fire department that we go to, and the more that we go there, the more that they start to realize and rely on us and kind of push for that more mutual aid to kind of help better support them.
And that, it sounds to me like it's a communication problem.
Yeah, we can chalk it up to a communication problem in the sense of the unknown. So again, if they're not aware of it, and that's trying to get on or being on the emergency response committee and those types of other events kind of helps kind of bridge those gaps. But yes, it does come down to an understanding.
Yeah. Thank you, Warden.
Thank you.
Any other questions from counselors? Seeing none, I would once again thank you for an excellent presentation, very informative, and certainly, certainly very enlightening to see everything that's been accomplished since the last
Yeah.
time you were.
And we
here.
encourage everybody to come to the base, take a look and see what we got. We have a number of open houses too that, everybody's welcome to.
Yeah, we're Tuesday at 7, any given Tuesday, if you wanna pop it, their doors are open. Should, huh? If I know you're coming. Peanut butter sandwich is not ready for you.
All right, well, once again, thank you very much for all the hard work that you folks do. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Next, we will move on to correspondence for information. And counselors, correspondence for information is in front of you and has been. Are there any items? Counselor Merriam, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Warden. I just wanted to bring up number 36, Nova Scotia Community Transportation. And I believe it's sort of under the banner of the Community Transportation Network. And in that correspondence, they talk about some of the implications of reductions in provincial funding. And I know we probably haven't had a lot of time to digest that, but I guess I just think, how does that affect us specifically in East Hants? And what comes to mind is, I believe I guess this is one question, would the East Hants Community Rider Program fall under that bailiwick? According to a quick search that I did, it looked like it would. And I guess I'm just wondering, and perhaps appreciate perspective of other counselors, just given where it could affect the East Hants Community Rider Program. I'm just wondering where this group, the Community Transportation Network, seems to be expressing interest in coming out and making a presentation to various councils across the province. I'm just wondering if we might be interested in engaging them to do that.
Thank you, Madam Warden. I can't speak specifically whether our community, like how much our community rider gets from these programs, but they're certainly funded from transportation programs at the provincial level and of course from the municipal level. And I believe Tanya Burke is, who signed the letter as board chair of the Rural Transportation Association, is probably our Tanya, if I took a guess. So reading through those letters, there's certainly some funding that's been cut to those programs. And one of the letters that's attached to the agenda references sort of, will municipalities step up and provide some additional support to these programs. So I think, as I mentioned last month, with all of the budget cuts that the province has made, I think there's going to be a significant impact on those asks from community groups to municipalities where you may not have had those before, because that funding is going to be felt. The loss of that funding will definitely be felt across the province, and the next logical place for them to come is to the municipality. So I don't think this is the only place that you'll see these types of letters coming forward as people start to understand what implications the provincial budget has had on their operations. I think you're going to see more letters like this. Whether you want to entertain presentations from all of the different groups is up to you.
Yes.
As I said, I haven't spoken specifically to the East Hants group to find out what the implications will be on their programming, but I can only assume that they'll be impacted in some fashion.
Thank you, CAO. And I guess, from my perspective, I just wanted to raise it because we get a lot of correspondence for information, and I just thought perhaps some of us would, could be missed. And with that said, I think the advice is maybe good. Perhaps just wait and see if in fact the community rider is affected, just see where that rolls and, kind of proceed accordingly. So thank you. That's it.
Thank you. Counselor Perry.
Thank you, Madam Warden. No, I couldn't agree more with the CAO. I think we're gonna start to see a lot of asks from organizations that maybe never asked from us before, and ones that we already support coming to us for more. And I really think it's gonna be important for us to do an assessment and look at where we can have, the best effect for the community, because I do not believe we have the resources without taxing the population more to make up for all these shortfalls. So I definitely would want to go on the side of caution, and because some of these organizations aren't going to feel the crunch right now, they're going to try and operate out of the reserves for a year, and some of it could come later in the year or earlier in the year, you don't know. So I just be cautious before any extra we give to one organization, because you don't know who could come next, and we have to remain flexible. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else under correspondence for information that anyone wants to bring forward at this time? Seeing none, we will go to correspondence for decision. We'll start at the top, and there was a memo regarding the PACE program and the service contract update. So I will go to Adam on that one.
Thank you, Madam Warden. This is relatively new news for the municipality, that the PACE program, which we have a partnership and agreement with PACE to fund energy programs to residents, is stopping applications after March 31st, so coming up here right away. We do have an agreement in place until the fall, so any applicants that are in the queue right now, PACE will continue to process them. Again, I believe this is a trickle down potentially of funding through other sources that's enabled them to put on this program. And we've done a quick review internally and looking at could we do it in-house. We don't believe, well, we know we don't have the same skill set and that PACE has in-house with how they offer this program. It's not only administrative, but they have to send out staff to homes and do assessments and so forth, and we don't have that skill set. So we don't necessarily believe it's something that the municipality could take on without additional investment in resourcing and funding. And it also may push there is an administrative fee that goes along with this. It may push it past the breaking point of return on investment for the homeowner too, to be able to have this finance. So what we wanted to do today was just make sure council was aware that this program is ceasing immediately, essentially. So if you do have questions from residents, that you're informed that way. And I guess really there's one or two things. We could bring back a staff report for you on this, or knowing that the program is sunsetting here, council can stay along with that in line, knowing that it would be likely additional resourcing and so forth to offer this. So we will pass it back to the warden in one moment. There's one other thing I wanted to add in for council, regardless of how this moves forward. You do have a PACE bylaw, so at some point we'll have to review that and bring it back forward. And it may need to stay in play for quite some time. We haven't done a deep dive in that because of how it's tied to property owners, but there is a bylaw at play with this program as well. So again, just recapping, you can ask for a staff report, or knowing what you've heard, you could accept it and make a motion to stop the program as of March 31st. Thank you, Madam Warden.
So really, if we want to continue offering the PACE program, we need a staff report. If we're willing to just say, no, we're done, can be done. Councillor Mitchell.
Thank you, Madam Warden. I see a recommendation there, so my question through the staff is that if that's your wish, then I'll move the recommendation that we have a staff report. Looking at our options.
Do we have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor McPhee. CAO.
Through you, Madam Warden. So there is a recommendation to return with a staff report if you want to continue to offer the program and figure out how to do that. I guess since this recommendation was sort of, we've talked that through, that it doesn't come without a significant cost of some kind to somebody. So that is what we would sort of outline in that report. But if council's like, no, you know what, we've supported 6 people over the course of the program, there's not a huge run-on on this program, we're good to let it go, then a motion to wind up the program March 31st would be in order. It's up to you, but from a staff perspective, it's not something that we see easily happening for moving forward.
And I would just comment that if this motion
Jess.
passes and we have a staff report, then at the end of the day, the recommendation in that support might well be that we are not able to continue with it. So, anyway.
Just to follow up on that, then, is the recommendation there for a particular reason, or, because I'll withdraw my motion if you think the PACE program is at its end?
Go ahead,
Yep.
Adam.
Through you, Madam Warren. This was relatively new news to us, so we were kind of trying to get the info in front of council so you were aware of the program. No more applicants after March 31st. So when we got this together and were able to get it on your agenda, we did have that recommendation for a staff report to kind of give that time. And as the CEO mentioned, when we talked it through and started looking at kind of the additional how we could do it potentially internally, we went, okay, this is going to be very challenging for us as an organization. So we didn't go back and switch that staff report. So when I made the verbal presentation a minute ago, I kind of gave those 2 recommendations, and I should have clarified that at the front end.
Madam Warden, based on the information received from our staff, I'll withdraw my motion.
Is the seconder okay with that?
Thank you, Adam.
Counselor Merriam.
Thank you, Madam Warden. I just would appreciate a little clarification on, I think I know what the PACE program is, but we didn't get into, on this one, a lot of background. I believe it's, an initiative, financing initiative for energy efficient upgrades, heat pumps, solar panels, insulation. For the part, there might be a user pay in form of low interest loans. People would pay through their tax bills, I'm guessing. Just to have an understanding of what the PACE program is there anything else that we should be aware of with this program?
Adam?
You pretty much summed it up in a nutshell there. It's really an opportunity for homeowners to seek alternative financing for a plethora of energy equipment or programs.
Okay, thank you.
And just as a reminder, this is separate from your well and septic program that council has. This is a separate program.
Yes. Thank you, that's it.
Counselor Tingley.
Through the chair, in latest staff's report, we haven't budgeted for this, and it's going to be challenging, as staff indicates, so I'm going to recommend, or I'm going to move that we discontinue the PACE program as of March 31st.
Do we have a seconder? Seconded by Counselor McPhee. I do believe that we do have money in the budget for the PACE program, but not for the administration part of that.
Right.
Clean Nova Scotia. Is that correct, CAO?
The loans are funded through your reserves. So you've set aside a portion to fund loans.
I don't have you. Just bear with me. Go ahead.
Yeah, so council, just, it's a nuance, I understand, but the loans are funded through your reserves, so you've set aside $250,000 to fund these loans. And the administrative side was being taken care of by PACE. So,
By Clean Nova Scotia.
by Clean Nova Scotia, sorry. So you've got loans in place or agreements in place representing about 163,000 of that. So this isn't a line item that you would see in your operating budget, but it's a program that you run and give funding for. Just I understand it's a
But
nuance.
there'd be extra cost to us to.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna leave the motion as it is.
Okay. Anything further, Counselor Tingley?
That's it.
Okay, Counselor Rhino?
Thank you, Madam Warden. Through you to the CEO, she mentioned that there's 250,000 from reserves. If this motion is carried through with, what will happen to those reserves? Will they be renamed or put into another reserve program, or how will that act?
CAO?
Through you, Madam Warden, they would just, those monies would be in your contingency reserve and just stay there.
Just in contingency
Yeah.
and not labeled for?
Yeah, they would go back to your, they've just been shifted or set aside for this, but they would just go back into contingency.
Thank
And
you.
then as these loans get repaid, that money would also go back into
Contingency.
municipal reserves, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we will go to the vote. And the motion has passed by a vote of 10 to 1. I need to see the vote. With Counselor Perry voting nay. All right, next item. Council has asked to select a date for the annual performance plan planning session with the RCMP. Suggested options are in front of you, and an evening session may be beneficial for the public members to attend to avoid work conflicts, and possibly for council members as well. So, Councillor Garden Cole.
Thank you, Madam Warden. Well, typically, this would be in front of me. I had computer issues, so I wasn't able to, judging from my lack of knowledge on the funding for the search and rescue, I wasn't able to review what was coming up at this meeting. So typically, I would look at my calendars about other stuff other than council, so I'm just hoping it can be on a Thursday night, our overflow night, because I always keep those set aside without looking at my other calendars. Thank you.
Thursday the 16th.
Okay, you can push your button now, Cecil.
Okay, thank you, Madam Warden. Tuesday, April 21st is out for me. That's our fire department's annual meeting. Thank you.
Councillor Mitchell? Trying here.
Thank you. Wednesday nights are fire hall training nights, so any other night I'd be open for. I'll suggest April 9th, Thursday, April 9th.
That is the one night that it's iffy for me.
Okay.
Just,
What
I
about
should-
Thursday the 16th?
let's say, my husband has cataract surgery that day, but I should certainly be home in time to be here by
Well,
then.
Don't want to put a rush on you, so I'll suggest Thursday the 16th.
16th?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anyone that the 16th does not work for? Evening.
Evening.
Okay. And Councillor Rhino, did you have a question?
No, I took myself off, Councillor Mitchell, he straightened her all over.
All right, so is everyone in agreement that we will, assuming that that works for the RCMP, we will look at April the 16th?
They work for us.
Okay.
Thank you,
I
Madam
don't
Warden.
think we need a motion for that.
No, we'll make it happen.
Well, if someone would like to move a motion that staff be directed to work with the RCMP to schedule the meeting for the evening of the 16th. Moved by Councillor Rhino, seconded by Councillor Mitchell. We'll go to the vote. Someone has not voted. Motion is passed unanimously. All right, final item on correspondence for decision. We have a request from the CCOA. Oh, sorry, Councillor Perry. Okay, we'll go to you first.
Yes, Madam Warden, just ensuring that that's a 7 o'clock start. so everybody has time to get here, so we're not trying to rush here. It's at 6:30, so 7 o'clock start for that. Thank you.
All right. Now, this is not a funding thing, so everybody is good, so. Okay. Go ahead, Adam.
Yeah, good evening, Madam Warden. So in front of council tonight, you have a request from the Corridor Community Options for Adults. They're looking for a letter of support from council this evening. They have applied, or they're wanting to apply to the Nova Scotia Community Housing Growth Fund, and really, they're looking at their property, how they can redevelop the site, and they need to do some front-end planning, geotechnical and so forth, and there's a great funding opportunity where they can access to help support that, I believe. They already have two other letters of support from other levels of government, and they're looking for one from council tonight. There was a draft letter that was submitted by CCOA for consideration that with some minor changes and council's approval, we'll have it under the warden's signature.
Okay, Councillor Garden Cole.
Thank you, Madam Warden. I move that the municipality send a letter to support the application for the Nova Scotia Community Housing Growth Fund by the Corridor Community Options for Adults.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Okay, Councillor Perry.
Thank you, Madam Warden. I'm 100% behind sending a letter of support. It just talks about the different tiers in there. So this doesn't commit us to funding or any economical support at this time.
No, it's just a letter of support for their ask of for their project.
Excellent. All right, thank you.
Councillor Mitchell.
Yeah, just for information's sake, this is the old Enfield School in 21 Covent Road, for those that might not know.
All right, no one else left to speak. We will go to the vote. Motion is passed unanimously. And that concludes correspondence for decision. We will now go to second reading of bylaw A300, encroachment on municipal real property bylaw. And it doesn't tell me who's doing this. Is it planning or is it okay, corporate?
The Corporate and Residential Services Committee received a staff report outlining the proposed new municipal real property bylaw, including provisions for managing, licensing, and enforcing encroachments on municipal property. Council gave first reading to the bylaw changes in February and can now proceed with second and final reading. The Corporate and Residential Services Committee recommends that Council give second reading to bylaw A-300, encroachment on municipal real property. As Chair of the Corporate and Residential Services Committee, I so move.
Seconded by Councillor Tingley. I'd like to ask the Deputy Warden to take the chair for a moment. I just have a clarification question because, as everyone is aware, I did have concerns over the way encroachments were suggested to be handled, which was different than my initial understanding. So I just want to make sure that passing this bylaw is not, we have not yet decided what the license or whatever we call it on those encroachments is going to look like time-wise. Is that correct?
Through the Deputy Warden, so the answer is you're correct. Council has a motion to bring back an additional staff report for clarity on that. But I will note this bylaw does apply to all other municipal property. So should something come up that aside from the DA, the former DAR line, we would utilize this as our tool. But you do have a motion on the books to bring back a report.
Thank you, because regarding the DAR line, I still truly believe that we told those folks, or I know I've told them directly, but the intent was to make them whole and to not devalue their property or anything. And I think that's very important. So we'll be having a report come back before that's delved into. So That's all that I wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Okay, next to speak, Counselor Rhino.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Warden. So just for clarity, then we will be getting, this will not have anything to do with the DAR until we get that special report and make a decision at that time. So I want some clarity around this if I could.
Go ahead, staff.
Yeah, through you, Deputy Warden. Correct, we're actually starting a recruitment process for the additional resources. We don't have capacity to even look at this and implementing any of that, let alone a conversation needs to come back from council. So there's no action that's gonna be happening on the DAR. If we get inquiries from residents, we'll sort those through how we have in the past. But to be clear to your question, no, we're not taking any action on this. We will come back with a staff report, and we're putting the right resourcing that council's invested in to manage this according to the direction of council.
Would you foresee then a special bylaw, another bylaw, special bylaw for in and around that DAR line? I mean, this is what I'm trying to get at. I mean, I know part of that will depend on council, but do you foresee another bylaw which is specifically designed for the DAR encroachment?
Through you, Deputy Warden, no, there is a clause in this bylaw that via motion of council, you can provide your direction to your CAO. So we don't foresee another separate bylaw coming back. We see council providing direction to the CAO at that time, and right now the CAO doesn't have that direction. So we don't foresee another complementary bylaw. This is structured in a way that when council makes that decision, you have a mechanism within this bylaw to then move it forward the way you choose to. Right now, we have no authority to move it forward.
Slightly confusing, but okay, I'll accept your answer.
Everything, Counselor?
Yes.
Counselor Head, please.
Thank you to you, Deputy Warden. So it's my understanding that no work can be done until this is passed?
No.
Through you, Deputy Warden, there's two pieces to the DAR. There's a operational agreement, which we're moving forward on based on council's direction. And then there's a land management piece. This is what we're talking about tonight, is the land management piece. The operating agreement with the multi-use trail association, we've received direction and we've moved that forward, and we're moving that forward with the group.
Very good, thank you.
Everything, Counselor?
No, that's great.
To the warden, please.
Okay, just following up on Councillor Rhino's comments. So when council makes a decision as to exactly what this encroachment policy will look like around the DAR, how will that become embedded in this bylaw?
Through Deputy Warden. So section 9.3 of the bylaw states that council may delegate authority to the CAO to approve encroachment license applications that meet council-approved criteria or fall within specific classes of projects or municipal real property, including but not limited to land management activities related to the former Dominion Atlantic Railway line. So that clause in the bylaw enables you to have a separate process that you give the CAO direction on what you want those license agreements to say and look like moving forward. They can be however council wants them to be. They don't have to be enshrined in a bylaw because they will be license agreements standing on their own with individual property owners.
But I think the criteria for how those are to be negotiated has to be written somewhere. It can't just be within the CAO's memory that council said on such and such a date, they made a motion to do this. I do think if it's licensing for 10 years, 50 years, whatever council decides, it has to be part of something.
I would, through you, Deputy Warden, I would envision that as a council policy document of how you're specifically going to deal with the Dominion Atlantic Railway line license agreements. So it doesn't have to be in bylaw, but you do have to have a formal documentation of your decision. That formal documentation could be a council policy that would be up on your website and front and center, or it can be written direction to the CAO through your land management program and captured in your land management policies or guidelines to the CAO. So there will be a formal mechanism that's required under this bylaw to deal with the former DAR line. But the bylaw doesn't stop there. It can also be, if you have another group of properties that sort of fall within a project, you could also give specific direction to the CAO to delegate what those license agreements look like outside of a standard agreement, if that comes up in the future. So like Adam said, this bylaw deals with all of the encroachments that you might see and that we have to deal with. Specific projects can have their own direction under 9.3A in the bylaw that council can sort of
Well, I
pick and choose what they want it to look like.
I would feel particularly around the DAR line, I would feel far more comfortable if what council decides is ingrained at least in policy.
And that would
So
be
that it's
okay.
easily accessible and easily visible to the public. Because I really think that we want this DAR line project to be successful. And I really think that we need to work with the folks who live along that DAR line to make that happen. I think that's very important. So thank you. That clarifies things for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Warden. Seeing no one else to speak, call for the vote. The vote have passed 11-4, 0 against. Passing the chair back to the warden, please.
Okay, thank you, Deputy Warden. Next on our agenda is second reading of bylaw P-1200-1, an amendment to bylaw P-1200, the lot grading and drainage bylaw. And Councillor Mitchell.
The Planning Advisory Committee received a staff report as a result of a 5-year review of bylaw P-1200, lot grading and drainage, and identified updates. Council gave first reading in February and can now proceed with second and final reading. The Planning Advisory Committee recommends that council give second reading to bylaw P-1200-1, a bylaw to amend bylaw P-1200, lot grading and drainage bylaw. As Chair of Planning Advisory Committee, I so move.
Do we have a seconder?
Second.
Seconded by Councillor Merriam. Councillor Rhino.
Thank you, Madam Warden. Just to be crystal clear, this does not include the RU2 zone.
Go ahead, John.
To Madam Ward, no, it just applies to the current area the bylaw applies to, which is our serviced areas.
Thank you for that clarity.
Any further questions? We will go to the vote. The motion is passed unanimously. Next, we will have second reading of bylaw P-1000-2, an amendment to bylaw P-1000, the dog bylaw. And who is doing this one? It's Councillor Garden Cole.
The Corporate and Residential Services Committee received a staff report as a result of the termination of the contract with the NSSPCA with proposed amendments to the dog bylaw and municipal fee policy regarding impound and boarding fees. Bylaw amendments include definitions of kennel and noise, defining neighborhood and persistently replaced annual dog tags with lifetime tags, and added the option for a dog to be microchipped in lieu of a tag. Council gave first reading in February and can now proceed with second and final reading. The Corporate and Residential Services Committee recommends that Council give second reading to bylaw P-1000-2, an amendment to bylaw P-1000 dog bylaw. As Chair of the Corporate and Residential Services Committee, I so move.
Seconded by Councillor Mitchell. Is there any discussion on this motion? Seeing none, we'll go to the vote. Motion is passed unanimously. Okay, next on our agenda, we'll move to committee reports, and we will go to the Corporate and Residential Services Committee. So back to you, Councillor Garden Cole.
Perfect. The committee held a regular meeting on March 10th, 2026 in council chambers. The following motions are coming forward as a result of that meeting. Item 1, Lance Volunteer Fire Department Memorandum of Understanding Extension. In 2024, council entered into a memorandum of understanding with the Lance Volunteer Fire Department. The MOU is to explore the former Lance School site PID 451-48111 for mixed-use development opportunities that may include a future fire station. The MOU expired March 1st, 2026. Because a larger municipal fire services review may be coming, it would make sense for Lance Fire to hold off on investing funds into a needs assessment at this time and instead extend the MOU with the municipality. The Corporate and Residential Services Committee recommends that Council direct the CAO to extend the existing Memorandum of Understanding with Lance Volunteer Fire Department for 2 years, with terms to be agreed upon by both parties. As Chair of the Committee, I so move.
Seconded by the Deputy Warden. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll go to the vote. Motion is passed unanimously.
The Corporate and Residential Services Committee recommends that Council direct staff to bring back a report on the level of study we could do at this time for risk and needs assessment of the fire service to move this thing along. As Chair of the Committee, I so move.
Do we have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor McPhee. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll go to the vote. Motion is passed unanimously.
Item 2, Municipal Fee Policy, Impound and Boarding Fees for Dogs. There is a facility in Truro that has expressed interest in operating as our municipal kennel and meets all the requirements to impound a dog. The rate is $80 per day per dog plus HST and includes housing, food, and exercise for the impounded dog. The fees recommended for this service are purposely higher than other jurisdictions to encourage dog owners to ensure their dogs do not roam and as a means of partial cost recovery for the service. Based on discussion by Council last month, a clause has been added to the draft policy to allow these fees to be waived at the discretion of the compliance officer. The Corporate and Residential Services Committee recommends that Council approve updates to the municipal fee policy as attached to the Executive Committee agenda dated March 10th, 2026. As Chair of the Committee, I so move.
Second.
Seconded by Councillor Mitchell. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll go to the vote. Motion is passed unanimously.
Third item, Business Climate Survey. The Manager of Economic and Business Development presented the results of the 2025 East Hants Business Climate Survey, a collaboration between East Hants Economic and Business Development Division and the East Hants Chamber of Commerce. This was a project identified through Council's strategic plan as part of growing economic prosperity and working to attract, retain, and support businesses, and was also identified in Council's Economic Development Plan. By gathering and analyzing information on the local business climate, both organizations will be able to use this information to work towards improving factors and services that support business. The survey focused on gathering information on business characteristics, recent performance, future outlook, and key challenges. Participants were asked 41 questions across 5 categories: business characteristics, performance and outlook, trade and supply chain, labor market, and technology and connectivity. Item 4, 2026-27 Water Utility Operating Budget. The Manager of Finance presented the 3-year water utility budget. A copy of the report was attached to the agenda and available to all committee members. The Corporate and Residential Services Committee recommends that Council approve the East Hants Water Utility financial estimates from 2026-2027 to 2028-2029 as presented on March 10th, 2026. As Chair of the Committee, I so move.
Second.
Seconded by Councillor Mitchell. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll go to the vote. Motion is passed unanimously.
This concludes the report.
Thank you. Next, we will go to Planning Advisory Committee. Counselor did I miss one? Sorry, Planning Advisory Committee, Counselor Mitchell.
The committee held its regular meeting on March 10th, 2026 in council chambers. The following motions are coming forward as a result of this meeting. Plan 25007, Punta Cana, Porta Cana, construction initial report. The municipality has received an application from Porta Cana Construction Services Limited to amend the municipal planning strategy and land use bylaw. One property is a municipally owned property which has been deemed surplus by council. The Planning Advisory Committee recommends that council authorize staff to schedule a public information meeting to consider a proposal for PID 453-29901 and PID 453-79864 to redesignate and rezone the two properties located on Lacey Ann Avenue from the established residential neighborhood ER designation to medium density residential neighborhood MR designation, and rezone the same lands from the two dwelling unit residential R2 zone to the townhouse R2T zone, and that letters notifying surrounding properties of the public information be to be sent to all properties within 500 meters. As chair of the committee, I so move.
Seconded by Counselor Hebb. Is there any discussion on the motion? Which is to go to a public information meeting. Seeing none, we'll go to the vote. The motion is passed by a vote of 7-4. With the Deputy Warden, Counselor Musa, Counselor Rhino, and Counselor Garden-Cole voting nay.
Second item, Sam Crescent parking issues. Council directed that staff prepare a report to outline options to alleviating parking concerns in the Sam Crescent and Tyler Street area. This was prompted by a resident on Sam Crescent writing to council to request a review. Several options were presented and discussed. The Planning Advisory Committee recommends that council direct staff to provide education material to residents on Sam Crescent and Tyler Street in the autumn prior to the snow season to remind vehicle owners to find alternative parking and clear out their garages if it is needed for parking. As chair of the committee, I so move.
We have seconded by Counselor Musa, Counselor Garden-Cole.
Thank you, Madam Warden. I just wanted to say that I cannot support this motion. While I realize it would be challenging to find some resolution for these parking issues, I just don't think sending out literature is any kind of an answer for them. And also, I might add that not in no shape or form do all of those residents up there have garages. Thank you.
Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll go to the vote. And the motion has passed by a vote of 10-1, with Counselor Garden-Cole voting nay.
This concludes our report.
Thank you, Counselor Mitchell. Next, we will go to the Infrastructure and Operations Committee, Counselor Perry.
Thank you, Madam Warden. The committee held its regular meeting on March 10th, 2026 in council chambers. The following motions are coming forward as a result of that meeting. Solid waste tipping fee policy. The current tipping fee schedule is set to expire March 31st, 2026. Therefore, the policy requires a review and update to the rates. The schedule is 1 year to align with contracts for processing and transportation scheduled to go to market in the upcoming fiscal year. The Infrastructure and Operations Committee recommends that council adopt the proposed amended solid waste tipping fee policy with pricing schedule effective April 1st, 2026 to expire March 31st, 2027. As chair of the committee, I so move.
Second.
Seconded by Counselor Merriam. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll go to the vote. Motion is passed unanimously.
Thank you. Possible updates to bylaw IO 400 solid waste collection and disposal bylaw. Regulations related to the Nova Scotia Recycling Program prompted a review and update of bylaw IO 400 solid waste resource collection and disposal bylaw. Staff to conduct a thorough review of the bylaw and have recommended updates for consideration. The Infrastructure and Operations Committee recommends the council direct staff to proceed with the revisions of the solid waste collection and disposal bylaw IO 400 and prepare to bring back the final revised draft for a detailed review. As chair of the committee, I so move.
Seconded by Councillor Hebb. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll go to the vote. Still waiting for someone. And the motion is passed unanimously.
Last one, CCOA crosswalk request. The new corridor community options for adults building has recently opened in Elmsdale Business Park and expected that there will be an increased pedestrian travel from the CCOA site to the public sidewalk network on the opposite side of Park Road. A review was conducted to determine if a mid-street crosswalk would be warranted for this location. Discussion was held and concern was raised around the CCOA client's safety crossing the street. The Infrastructure and Operations Committee recommends that council requests that a crosswalk in support of the CCOA location in the Elmdale Business Park be brought back for future budget consideration once more traffic data is collected and pedestrian movements to access the institutional and commercial site are better understood. As chair of the committee, I so move.
Seconded by Councillor Merriam. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we will go to the vote. And the motion has passed by a vote of 9-2, with Councillor Rhino and Councillor Garden-Cole voting nay.
This concludes my report.
Thank you, Councillor Perry. Next, we'll go to the Parks, Recreation, and Culture Committee. Oh, before we go there, Councillor Garden-Cole, you had a comment?
Thank you, Madam Warden. Just in reference to the last topic that we just voted on, would it be prudent for me to make a motion at this time regarding that or a future? Okay, I'm going to make a motion. I'd like to make a motion that staff bring back a report to council on the feasibility of making a bylaw that we look into the feasibility of including crosswalks in any institutional buildings that we build in East Hants, such as CCOA and others.
Okay, moved and seconded, so that's simply to ask staff to do a report exploring the feasibility of doing that.
And that is just in response to people's concerns about if we have a crosswalk there, we can have everybody's going to be looking for a crosswalk, when in fact, this would be because of the institution that is being built or that is built. Thank you.
Discussion on the motion. Councillor Musa.
Would that be only on municipal roads?
I don't believe so, because I do believe that part of Park Road is provincial. No?
Yeah,
Okay,
no,
it's
it wouldn't be.
municipal. Okay.
The intent of the motion, the report would be provincial and municipal roads.
I don't think we have any
Pardon?
power to do it on the provincial road.
We don't have power to do it on the provincial road, but at least we could look into the fact of, is it feasible to do it wherever we have, at least make application to do it, wherever we would put up a institutional building.
Any
Is that
further
enough?
discussion on the motion? Councillor Mitchell.
Would that also include the Magnolia and the development in that area?
This would be going forward.
Yeah.
It
Does-
would have when the Magnolia was built.
Okay.
It might when the new part of the Magnolia gets built.
Also, if I can add to that, it would only be it would typically be in an area where the building is on the opposite side of the sidewalk. That's what people are trying to access, the sidewalk.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion on the motion? Just before we vote, I guess I'd just like to ask staff if they have any kind of an idea when they might be able to produce this report. But it's not going to be next month or anything like that. It's going to be added to the workload, correct?
Through you, Madam Warden, to me, this sounds like a planning issue or a planning requirement, although it has transportation impacts. If you want to require it as part of the construction of an institution, then it would be embedded in your planning rules, maybe. So would it be permissible to have this as part of the plan review or report as part of that? That has started now.
Well, I think the report that's being asked for is simply as to whether it would be feasible for us to do that or not.
Yes.
So
I
maybe
think you
we
can leave it with us,
We
John.
can leave
If-
that with
if the
staff to
motion-
figure out who will do the report and,
Yeah.
but I just want folks to understand, we're not going to have this report,
No.
you know.
I get that.
Okay, any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll go to the vote. The motion is passed by a vote of 9-2, with Councillor McPhee and Councillor Musa voting nay. All right, now we will go to Parks, Recreation, and Culture Committee report. Councillor Rhino.
Thank you, Madam Warden. Committee held its regular meeting on March the 10th, 2026 in council chambers. The following motions are coming forward as a result. 2026 volunteer nominations and model volunteer. The Tourism and Events Supervisor presented the nominees for the 2026 Oak Volunteer Awards and a recommendation for this year's model volunteer. So from that, the Parks and Recreation and Culture Committee recommends that council approve the award, volunteer award nominees and the model volunteer as presented in the confidential memo sent to council via email. And for model volunteer be designated to represent the municipality of East Hants at the provincial awards. As chair of the committee, I do so move.
Seconded by Councillor Mitchell. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we will go to the vote. Motion is passed unanimously.
Tourism, 2026 tourism grants. The Tourism and Events Supervisor presented the applications that have been received and made a recommendation on the amounts to be awarded. The motion says the Parks, Recreation, and Culture Committee recommends that tourism grant funding recommendations totaling $52,500 be approved for the following organizations, with $12,500 drawn from the Tourism Grant Reserve. Maitland and District Development Association, $19,000. East Hants Historical Society, $12,500. Come Home East Hants Association, Tidefest, $10,000 towards facility rental costs. Gore Trails, $6,000. Walton Area Development Association, $5,000. As chair of the committee, I do so move.
Seconded by Councillor Hebb. Councillor Mitchell.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Warden. Just a quick question. Does the province's cutback on grant funding affect this at all going forward?
Go ahead, Alana.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Warden. We do understand that there has been significant cuts in a lot of those grant funding programs that groups would apply for. We don't know the exact details of that, but we anticipate that they may feel the effects at some point.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? Seeing none, we'll go to the vote. Still waiting for someone to vote. And the motion is passed unanimously.
District Recreation Funds, first intake. Community Development Coordinator presented the applications that have been received and made a recommendation on amounts to be awarded. Discussion was held and committee members contributed funds from their district toward projects to ensure all applications are fully funded. Funding,
Okay,
funding in the amount of
If I
36.
could, just one moment, please. I do believe that Counselor Garden Cole will want to declare a conflict on this first one. Just a reminder. And I would just say that Counselor Garden Cole is a member of this, of the board of this society, which is why she's choosing to declare a conflict. Okay, carry on, Counselor Rhino.
Thank you, Madam Warden. Parks and Recreation and Culture Committee recommends that council approve district recreation funding in the amount of $36,500 to the E.H. Horn Preservation Society. From that, District 1, $10,000, District 2, $2,000, District 3, $1,000, District 6, $1,000, District 7, $2,500, District 10, $20,000, for a total of $36,500. As Chair of the committee, I do so move.
Second.
Seconded by the Deputy Warden. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll go to the vote. Motion is passed unanimously.
All right. The Parks, Recreation, and Culture Committee recommends that council approve district recreation funds totaling $170,651 in the following amounts. East Hants Gymnastics and Trampoline Club, District 1, $2,000, District 2, $8,003, District 3, $2,000, District 6, $1,000, District 7, $1,000, and District 10, $1,000, for a total of $15,003. Nine Mile River Trails Association, District 1, $2,000, District 2, $2,000, District 3, $16,860, District 4, $2,000, District 6, $1,000, District 7, $2,500, District 10, $1,000, for a total of $27,360. Milford Recreation Association, District 2, $2,000, District 3, $5,000, District 6, $8,692, District 7, $2,233, for a total of $17,925. Uniac District Home and School, District 8, $11,250, District 9, $11,250, for a total of $22,500. Uniac Legion, 165, District 8, $10,000, District 9, $10,000, for a total of $20,000. Mount Uniac Mustangs, District 8, $5,277, District 9, $5,277, for a total of $10,553. Shubenacadie Canal Commission, Lot 6 Park, District 1, $5,000, District 2, $22,500, District 7, $2,500, District 10, $20,000, for a total of $30,000. Rawdon District Home and School, District 3, $2,000, District 11, $25,310 for a total of $27,310. So total funding allocations, this includes the first motion on that, was $207,151. As chair of the committee, I do so move.
Seconded by the deputy ward. Okay, Counselor McPhee and Counselor Garden Cole.
Thank you, Warden. I don't know if it makes any difference, but I noticed the Mount Uniacke Mustangs, that's off by $1, the figure. It should be 10,554.
Ah, yes. Noted. Counselor Garden Cole.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Warden. I just want to confirm that although that was added in brackets as part of the total, we are not voting on that amount. It has already been voted on by the
Correct.
H. Horn School. Thank you.
Okay, no one left to speak. We'll go to the vote. And the motion is passed unanimously.
Madam Warden, that brings me to the end of my report.
Thank you. I would now ask the deputy warden to take the chair, and I will present the nominating committee report.
Thank you, Warden. Please go ahead.
The nominating committee met on March the 10th, 2026 to consider applications to fill the public member vacancies on the East Hants Source Water Protection Committee as per the terms of reference. There were no new applicants following advertising the vacancies. The current members reapplied for another 3-year term. The nominating committee recommends to council that council reappoint the following members for a 3-year term starting April 1, 2026, ending March 31st, 2029, to the East Hants Source Water Protection Committee. A customer of the water utility within the regional water supply system, Jill Cyril. Representative from Shubenacadie Watershed Environmental Protection Society, SWEPS, or an equivalent association is determined by the East Hants Nominating Committee, Tom Mills. A resident living within the East Hants portion of the near zone of the Grand Lake Watershed, Patricia Lyle. As chair of the committee, I so move.
Have a mover and a seconder. Seeing no one looking to speak on it, call for the vote. Vote is passed at 11-0. Now we're going to ask the warden for her monthly report, please.
Thank you very much. Well, it was a different, we seemed to have executive very quickly after our last council meeting, and then we had a little break prior to council. So, however, on February the 26th, I did, along with the CAO, participate in an NSFM Zoom meeting for mayors, wardens, and CAOs to discuss the provincial budget. It was some rather interesting discussion, particularly around, I found some comments by one of the deputy ministers on the call, but I won't go into any great detail now. I would just encourage anyone who has an interest in joining that roads committee to get your application in and join it. On March the 3rd, I joined staff here in room 168 for a meeting with the Stanley Sport Aviation Association to discuss taxation status on some of their assorted properties. And it was certainly very interesting to see how it all, the different classifications and how everything works. And so our staff, recreation and finance are working through the information that was provided. I was able to attend, I'm not going to try to name them all, but events in the community during this time. The Rawdon District Volunteer Fire Department Winter Carnival, I attended some of those events. I attended the Kennecott District School Dime Auction, had my usual luck. My car was certainly not full of winnings. But although my co-attendees that came with me were rather more successful than I was. But anyway, it's been a long winter. looking forward to spring with no more looking out the window in the morning to snow coming down. And anyway, that at this time concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Warden. You realize spring is only one day this year, so
Well-
pass the control over to you.
Well, thank you. So, once again, I never remember where I started with business from counselors the last time, so I'm going to do it a little bit different this time, and I'm going to start with the deputy warden.
Thank you, Warden.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem like that long since we've been here, and it's not a lot happened last month. In the last month, seems like I attended most of my time was at the arena. I enjoyed the hockey game with the RCMP playing East Sands Hockey High School, and that fun was a fundraiser for the Bannister organization, which turned out good. I was to the senior hockey game the other night, and it's probably the most people I've seen in the arena in a long time, which is entertaining. And the rest of it was March break tournament. The only other issues I've had really is a few people with snow removal, and they seem to ease off, and that's basically it for me for the month. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. We'll go to Counselor McPhee.
Thank you, Warden. Yeah, just a couple of things. We've started our Heydays Committee, has had a meeting, very successful, and so we're hoping for another successful year on that. I attended a Microsoft Teams meeting earlier in the week on climate. Quite a few different counselors from around the province, different municipalities. It was interesting to hear what they had to say. And one bit of I guess advice from the team that was presenting it was on insurance and different ways that in Europe, different insurance ways that they fund looking after climate problems and that. And they, it was kind of, really took my interest when they talked about the Glastonbury Music Festival and different ways. It's type of funding or insurance that they have never heard of in North America, but apparently is used to insure against climate damage and just events, I guess, like the Glastonbury Festival being canceled or impacted by climate issues. So something I know that we can't look at, but we'll see where it goes. Maybe it's something that the insurance industry will get involved with here. Other than that, it was pretty quiet. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Hebb.
Thank you, Warden. February 26th, I presented a certificate of recognition to Ken and Helen Bootleer from Bell Land for 60 years of marriage. And on March the 3rd, I presented another certificate to Ken Bootleer for 85th birthday. And on March the 7th, I presented a certificate. Ken was from Bell Land. It was Ken and Helen's wife. Naima River Marilla Faulkner, her 95th birthday on March 7th. And they were all very happy to receive their certificates. Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Mitchell.
Thank you, Madam Warden. On March the 18th, at the Elmsville Fire Department, we finished off the audit up until January 26th of this year. And I was checking with staff, seeing when it has to be completed for a year-end fiscal. On March the 19th, I attended a celebration of life for a longtime East Hants resident of 97 years, and I'll be attending another one this Saturday for another young person of 96 years. The Equity and Community Wellbeing Committee with this committee with NSFM meets tomorrow morning, and I'll be attending that. And the other issue I'm leaving to Councillor Garden Cole. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Garden Cole.
Thank you, Madam Warden. Business from District 1 this month. I received some verbal thank yous for DFR funds that we have allocated. People are very grateful for those funds. It keeps them going. Also, I spent numerous days at the Sportsplex during the March break tournament. The place was jammed to the rafters with people and lots going on. Seemed like things were going smoothly from from my perspective, but staff may seemed like things were going really well, and was great to see. Maybe a little bit of parking issues, but hopefully that's something we can improve going forward. Members of council went to lunch at the new Corridor Community Options building. Some of us did in March, and just to see the beautiful new building and have lunch at the cafe, which was very good. Few complaints, few concerns from people regarding a 5-story building going up in Enfield. And for anybody who's watching this evening, I just want to reiterate that 5-story buildings are permitted just under, as long as they are under the height restriction of what is permitted. So it doesn't necessarily have to be 4-story buildings. As well, we've had numerous concerns, Councillor Mitchell and I, regarding parking on Concord Way. Residents concerned about not being able to park on both sides of the street. I promised that I would bring this up at the meeting, but understand that maybe that is something that we will be looking at as staff. Is that correct? And council?
I believe that's the street where there are no parking signs on both
Both
sides
sides
of the
of the
street.
road. I did get
I see Jesse
a
looked a
response
little-
email from one of the staff.
Go ahead, Jesse.
Through you, Madam Warden, that was put in place on Concord for the winter season, and they're on one side of the road that has been reestablished with parking as of yesterday.
That's what we want, that's what they want to hear, so, okay. And that is it from District 1, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Rhino.
Yes, thank you, Madam Warden. March the 8th, the Hants North Boys Senior Volleyball Team went to the provincials and again came away with a provincial championship. It goes to show what a strong, for a small area, what a strong sports programs we do have in the Hants North area, and especially with basketball. Coach Toby White, Christian Miller, Kenny Webb, they spend a lot of time with these young people. And they do an excellent job, not only with the sports, but creating adults that will be definitely an asset to society in the future. And hats off to them. I think this is the 4th year in a row they've won their provincials, so they're doing really well. I also, still on sports, there's a lot of volleyball players, and I can't name them all, but over the Hants North area that are involved in a lot of teams across East Hants, and they're doing very well, and I wanted to bring that to everyone's attention. I've attended a lot of community fundraisers through this past month, breakfasts and so on. But the one I want to mention is the Knoll Legion has put on a Chase the Ace. It ended last Friday past. It went the whole 52 cards. Whole 52 weeks, and it's not really about the chance to win the money. It's about coming together as a community, meeting people, talking to people, having a few laughs, having something to eat, and it's a real community. It's just not all about the money. But it's brought people together. So my hats off to the Hants North Legion for doing that and providing that Friday night entertainment, and I don't know what I'm going to do with my Friday nights for a little while. But anyway, I want to congratulate the winner was Heather Laffin from Moose Brook. She took away $66,000, and I'd just like to say that the Chase the Ace Nova Scotia originally started in the Hants North area between the Hants North Legion and the Baseball Association, and now over in the quarter side of there, what's come off that is Jig the Joker. That's taken away. That has been taken from Chase the Ace and just renamed, but it's the same type of game. So, anyway, just a few tidbits, and congratulations, Heather Laffin and the Hants North Legion. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to Councillor Tingley.
Chair, on March 12th, I attended an NSFM webinar. regarding stormwater and management and flood adaptation. 3 municipalities put a presentation as to what they're doing for that area. Our Director of Infrastructure was on the call as well, I seen, and another staff member. Types of things they were talking about is what they're doing as far as studying their problems. And one example was Windsor. They hired CBCL and to identify where all their bottlenecks were, and I think they come up with a budget of 142 million that they think it would cost to deal with it, which obviously that's not going to happen anytime soon, but at least they are starting on some kind of roadmap. March 13th, attended the East Hants Curling Association year-end banquet at Shooters. There was a large turnout. Thierry Eisner emceed and was fairly entertaining. Today, I attended 2 functions. I'm a director of the PVSC Audit and Finance and Risk Committee, and we met to discuss budgets and planning and policies. Also, today had a meeting with the NSFM Infrastructure Committee. They've received a request from municipalities to look into trying to get homeowners that suffer a loss or total loss of a home to be able to stay under the cap instead of being assessed as a new home after a fire or a disaster. And I understand the province, through the PVSC Act, has allowed municipalities to handle it individually, but they're wanting some direction as to how this could be done for any type of total loss, even like a kitchen fire or total loss fire of any kind, whether it was electrical or so now we've gone to the province. The province is not going to be involved. They're going to just let each municipality deal with it individually. So now we're talking with PVSC to see if they can provide some assistance around assessments, and we're inviting AMANs into the meeting, and we're going to try to come up with a recommendation that we can go back to the board at NSFM and eventually come back to municipalities. But some municipalities just don't feel it's fair than if somebody suffers a total loss on a house and they're paying X amount of taxes, that all of a sudden their house gets built back the same and they're charged 2 or 3 times the amount of property tax. So they're trying to find a solution for that. And I sent around some stuff earlier about a motion that I want to make. Some residents are asking me to see if I can get something done about the flooding that occurs at the roundabout in Lance, between the roundabout and the Sportsplex. And I did write to NSPW, and they got back to me with a response, but it didn't give me a lot of confidence that they understand what the problem is. You know, they refer to this as ponding, but it's not actually ponding. There's a fair amount of water coming down the hill there, crossing the road, and by the time it crosses to the other side of the road, it's a rushing brook. Like a person couldn't stand up into it. It's a lot of water. So it's a hazard, I think, for vehicles and pedestrians, and it's also this week somebody pointed out that that night it froze. The temperature dropped real quick, and the area froze. And when people were driving along, everything else was dry, and they'd come to this area and it was froze. By the time I looked at it, it was mostly slush, but apparently it was quite slippery. And so I'm going to make a motion to move the staff write Provincial Public Works and report that a hazard exists at Highway 2 between the Lance Roundabout and the East Hants Sportsplex caused by significant stormwater flowing over the crosswalk and road and with significant force during normal rainfalls. And request that a technical study of the flooding in this area be completed to analyze the risk and identify flood mitigation options.
Moved and seconded. Councillor Mitchell.
Thank you, Madam Warden. also received the reply back from Public Works, and my question is how much of that water is coming from the development of the two apartment buildings that Clayton Development is doing, and is their property drained properly, which is causing the flooding at the roundabout?
If your question is to me, I really don't know. I think a lot of it could be coming from the Kiln Creek development. But I think somebody just needs to assess where it's all coming from and just identify what needs to be done to correct it. And I don't even know, or I don't know what the correction is or what it would cost or how long it would take to do it. I just don't, residents in my area just don't want to ignore it. They'd like to have somebody take a look at it.
So this motion is to direct staff to ask the province to do that investigation.
The reply back from Public Works said they were planning to do something in the summer when the weather got better, is what I understood, so I
Well-
think this is just redundant.
Well, I'm not sure if you want to debate that, but they did include a line towards the end that they'd look into this in the summer to see what they could do. But when they referred to this as ponding on the road, it's definitely not ponding on the road. It's a deluge of water. There's a lot of water coming there with a lot of, you couldn't walk on the crosswalk in that area when the water's coming down there. It's coming down with that much force. And it doesn't only happen when there's extreme weather, which is another thing they said. It happens fairly regular. We've got staff that live in the area. They know that it happens. One of our staff members, I'm not going to name him here, but he lives in Lance and he works in the infrastructure department, and he knows well what the situation is there. But if you don't think it's a hazard and it shouldn't be looked at, you should vote against it.
Okay, so I think we're all aware of what the situation has been explained, and that the ask of the motion is to direct staff to put a formal request into the province to do perhaps some more investigation into the issue then. Okay.
Just to follow up, I drove through that twice.
Just one moment there, Counselor. I had taken you off. Okay.
I drove through it twice Monday morning, as far up to Milford Flats, and I didn't seem that around 9 o'clock that there was any difficulty, but I will not vote against the motion. I think if that's what the residents want is okay with me. I was just going on the reply back from Public Works that they were gonna deal with that situation in the summertime. That's all.
Thank you. Counselor Perry.
Thank you, Madam Warden. Just some questions for clarification. So there was contact with Public Works made and the response was sent to the two councillors. Did the municipality receive any correspondence on this as the result of the councillors' inquiries?
Jesse?
Through Madam Warden, staff did receive the response as well and reviewed it. From a perspective, I don't believe it's clear what action would take place or review. I think putting a formal request in for a technical review that'll put numbers to it would be beneficial. So staff would be in full support of writing a letter if that was the will of council.
Okay, and the next question is, I mean, the events of last week was a melt and a rain. So, there's flooding happened all over. The situation where it says here under normal rainfalls, do we have any data under normal rainfalls, the situation in that area? Or is it happen normally when the ground is frozen in the fall and we do experience rain, or in the spring at melt time, or significant weather events? Is that the occurrences that we're looking at here?
Through Madam Warden, staff don't have a technical tracker. I would say there have been several observations at this location that it's come up and it's been passed on to the province. And it hasn't been all large events. So it is an oddity, I would suggest, beyond just big events.
No, because I know in having meetings with the MLAs, one of the things that they mentioned to me was that, you know, you keep writing, you keep writing, you keep writing, all of a sudden your letters don't mean anything. So kind of picking out what is really important, you know, if something's not happening that frequency and you're asking for something that only happens 2 or 3 times a year, well, you know, maybe there's something that happens 15 to 20 times a year somewhere that is more critical, and it can get lost in the shuffle of a large amount of paperwork. So I just wanted some clarification on the frequency of this and what it was doing, because it's definitely something that I believe from the staff's answer that needs to be looked at for a technical side. Thank you.
Counselor McPhee?
Thank you, Warden. I'd just like to say I will be supporting the motion. I did go today and have a look at the site, and there's water pooled where it comes down between the new connector and the Sportsplex site. There's water laying there now that can't get away, and it's not far from flowing over, so it wouldn't take much water again to cause it to flow over. Also, when you go to the other side of the road, you can see that there was a tremendous amount of water, must have, by the damage and what you could see there of how water had run down over. So, and I've seen it at different times, and it wasn't big rain events, wasn't snow melt, but there was water there, and the water is coming over, so there's definitely a problem. What I'd like to know from the area manager Hants's answer to Councillor Tingley's inquiry, they said that they were planning on doing something this summer, and that I'd like to have a little more detail on what their plans are. I thought that might be just more of a generic answer than a actual plan in place. But I would encourage people from Public Works to go have a look at the situation tomorrow, and they would have a better idea of exactly what the problem is. Thank you.
Counselor Rhino?
Well, thank you, Madam Warden. Well, I'm hearing different things. I'm hearing emotion, and I'm hearing that it possibly could be due to the development in that area. And I'm hearing that, you know, that there's something to do with, it could have something to do with the provincial the water system there. Would it be prudent for staff just to do a quick evaluation out there? Because what I'm concerned is if they go out there and it's coming from something we approved and it's not being done, well, then we could have a little quicker heads up than waiting for the province to go through all this. I just wanted to throw that out there because I'm hearing a bunch of things around on this flooding issue. So could somebody clarify?
Well, from my perspective, I don't think people are just guessing what might be causing it. And this request is because it is a provincial road and a provincial responsibility, this request would be for staff to ask the province to do the technical review necessary to figure out why this is happening. And once we know why, we would know who was responsible, basically, I guess, from my perspective. Jesse?
Through Madam Warden, I would caution making guesses on root cause. It's a complex topic. There's been observations of water flowing over there at different periods of time since the collector road was established. So a sequence of events of what may be contributing, it's really hard to pinpoint. The review, what would be something I would be advocating for via the letter is similar to like a stormwater modeling event of the area. The province owns the design of the collector road and the drainage of that collector road, and they would be able to model the inputs and the outputs of what it's designed for versus what's happening, and it should give a really good technical
review of what could happen based on different types of events. And I think going through that process would tell them and potentially us after the fact what's going on very precisely versus an in-field triage.
Thank you. Anything else, Councillor Rhino? Councillor Gordon Cole.
Thank you, Madam Warden. Actually, council was copied on these conversations. And like Councillor McPhee, I feel like this may have, when they described it as, hopefully it's a simple, cost-effective adjustment that they can make. That does sound a little bit generic to me. I think it's kind of been established that this is just a little more than run-of-the-mill water pooling that happens during common events. Even staff attest to that to a certain degree. So I think that maybe it would be taken a little more seriously. So I will be supporting the motion. Thank you.
Seeing no one left to speak, we will go to the vote. Motion is passed unanimously. Hey, anything further, Councillor Tingley?
Just one final thing, and it's probably connected to a little bit what Councillor Perry said about the province not taking letters seriously if we write about things. If constituents contact us and ask us to look into things, we've got to look into them. And approximately 6 months ago, I was contacted by several constituents to look into the braking that's going on the interchange and about crosswalk safety at the Lance Roundabout. And I made 2 motions. This was in September. I don't know what's happening with that or if we've written to the province, but that was 6 months ago. And I'd like to know, do we get semi-annual responses or annual responses? Like, when do we expect to get a response when we contact them? And I'm not pushing them, but and if Councillor Perry hears from somebody that doesn't like to get a question asked, that's not going to hurt my feelings. I'm not pressuring them, but I'd like to get a response someday.
Jesse?
Through Madam Warden, so on written correspondence, eventually the municipality almost always receives a response, a written response. If we send an official letter, if it goes to the staff level, we receive a staff level response. And if it goes to an elected official, there's a log and there is typically a written response through that channel. Some of those correspondence and those letters did go out. I don't have a log of when they went out. It would have been, it wasn't immediate. Some of the letters that have gone out recently, some were before Christmas, some were just after, but they're out. Everything's been sent. There's nothing outstanding.
And that's fine then. Like, I can follow up with you offline.
Yep.
I just want to know, do we get a response? Like, because I
Absolutely.
just recall making the motion 6 months ago.
Yep.
And, it's been 6 months. When do you follow up? At the 6 month level, the year level? To the constituents, this is serious stuff. They expect the councillor to get back to them. And when you can't get back to them, it doesn't look good. And if somebody's concerned about you asking a question, that's not going to concern me.
Okay, we'll have order, folks.
Saying something I didn't say, Ward.
And that's all I got to say.
And I do understand, I believe what Councillor Perry was referring to is that we have been told, particularly by Public Works, that they have things in the hopper that are important things to be fixed, but sometimes all of a sudden if a letter were to come from council and say, we want you to look at this road, then something else might have to set aside and they'd move their priorities. So we always have to be careful how we word it and what we ask for, and I'm sure that's all he meant to say, so.
Well, I just want to clarify, nothing that I ask, am I pressuring anybody to do it fast or to do anything? I'm just, a constituent is coming to me, asking me to bring something forward, I'm bringing it forward. And,
All right,
That's
we
it.
have, okay. So there's no motion coming forward? Okay. Counselor Musa?
Yeah, there's motion on the floor.
Yeah, we haven't voted on it yet.
Oh, didn't, I thought we voted on it.
Yes, we did.
Yes, we did. Yes, it was unanimous. Okay. Counselor Musa?
Thank you, Madam Warden. My report is going to be a little bit emotional today as
Just for clarification, Tom, we did vote on the original motion from Counselor Tingley. Yes, we did. I thought we could. Carry on, Counselor Musa.
thank you, Madam Warden. I don't know how many of you believe in miracle, but I am a big believer of miracles. And I think one had happened this morning in Mount Uniacke. As my nephew was walking on the bicycle lane and was hit by a plow truck, provincial plow truck going 60 or 70 on a highway and thrown into a ditch full of 6-inch rocks, 6 feet deep. And walk out of it was minor scratches. If not a miracle, I don't know what a miracle is. So, but my other part is I'm very disappointed with the provincial manager for DOT, as he never had the gut to call an ambulance or the police to report it. So that's very bad on their part, and I want to leave it at that for now. So that's one part, and the other part is I remember last year we used the beautification fund for the church. Was that a one shot, or we still can do it this year? Because that church need paint, and if it's painted, it's gonna make the community look much better. So
For community, not church?
the United Church for Heritage.
It's not a church anymore.
Yeah, it's a heritage.
Just for clarification, some churches have other community uses as well,
Yeah.
that they provide spaces for youth groups, for different organizations, and as such, they would be eligible
Okay,
for some
so we
grants.
still can do that.
But beautification is different. I think churches and cemeteries are eligible for beautification. Oh, I need to,
Yeah, heritage property. It's a heritage property.
staff five.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't have your mic on. Elaine.
Yeah, no, through the warden, I believe it was both a heritage grant was used for, I believe it was the roof,
Yeah.
and it was beautification. It was the two in combination.
So the beautification can still be used for that, or it was one shot? So
I don't believe the motion, and I'd have to go back. I don't believe the motion through the warden actually said it was only a one-off, and I can't speak to the heritage either if it was just a one-off, or depending on what the project is.
Yeah, as long as it meets the criteria.
yeah,
For
they want
beautification.
to paint the church the outside, so it
I
could
would
be-
I would discuss it with,
Yes.
Through the warden, they could reach out to staff, and we can direct them accordingly. Yep.
Thank you. That's all.
anything
Thank you.
further? Oh, Counselor Rhino?
Thank you, Madam Warden. I feel Counselor Moose is very upset about it, and rightly so. I'm very surprised to hear that the RCMP was not called at all. And I would urge anyone that yourself, Counselor Moose, or the victim himself, or anyone to call the RCMP and have this on record. This is very serious, and I don't want to downplay this in anything. That's very serious, and the RCMP should be contacted. Thank you.
Unfortunately, no, because he was alone and he's very shy and.
It's not too late.
No, not too late. You can call.
Oh, yeah. I'll be calling. Yeah, I was talking to Calvin and he directed me to do the right thing. Thank you.
Okay, Counselor Perry.
Thank you, Madam Warden. My first, before I get into anything else, my first question, I'm gonna have to ask Jesse a question. When significant events happen, like the melts and the rains that we had, I happened to be all over different parts of the municipality at that point, and there was lots of bridges and crossroads that were flooded over, or the water was right to the top of the road, and it was rushing really hard. Is there any engineering requirements or structural assessments required when a bridge is breached by large amounts of rushing water? Because the residents that reached out to me in one of the bridges down by Rawdon that had a lot of water come over it, East Uniacke, South Uniacke, and a few other ones, are worried about the bank integrity because the water didn't just go underneath the bridge. It went hundreds of feet on either side and over the road too. It wasn't just over the bridge point, it was going. So they were worried about the pressure on the embankments and if that would have any structural issues on the bridges. It's not that it happens all the time, but as these things do happen, I don't know if it's something that how many events have to happen before it gets inspected, or do we have any policy that we do internally for the bridges that we maintain on our roads?
Okay. You've got a button to push there now, remember? Okay. We'll go to Jesse first.
Through Madam Warden, full disclosure, I am not a bridge specialist, and there aren't municipal owned bridges at this point. So those bridge structures are all on provincial roads or highways at this point. What I would say is that any impact is an opportunity for a structural engineer to go and inspect the structure. So a high water event, water pushing up the side, I would, if I was a member of the public, I would report it, and I would anticipate that the owner of that asset would seek out an inspection right after that, especially if it was breached over top, because that's not supposed to happen.
I do know in most of the cases, it's been reported multiple times to the Public Works hotline and stuff like that. So they are definitely aware. I didn't know we didn't have any bridges, so I was looking if we had an internal policy or internal process that way there, we'd know. Because we have a lot of old roads that, as development and everything else happens, we have a lot more, when the snow melts and stuff. So you're looking at every fall when the ground freezes and we have a rain, and you're looking at the springtime when it melts. So it doesn't happen all the time, but it happens biannually to these structures. And I just, it's like the whole thing, those little creases that happen and the stresses over time can make something fail. So I just was wondering if we had any internal policy on that. But I see Councilor Rhino has his thing on, so I'll like to hear what he has to say.
Counselor Rhino?
Yes, in the area that I look after for the province, it was sent out by the Halifax that any bridges that were breached or overflowed or anything were to be noted by the area supervisor, sent to the district bridge engineer, and then those bridge engineers were to send somebody out to have them assessed. Now, if you want to check a certain bridge, you probably should call and ask to make sure that was re-inspected again. You could do that.
Okay. I'll look into that. Thank you, Councilor Rhino. Another sad and somber moment in our community. Mabel McCarthy passed away here recently. She was a valued member of the community. She was a school teacher in Sackville. She worked for the Teachers Union, graduate Teachers College, and she also was the Legion President at Branch 165 from 2004 to 2025. And her loss in the community is definitely going to be felt. It was a sudden illness and a quick passing, so it was also a bit of a shock. Mabel was a person that I got to know quite well over a number of years. She did a lot for our area when the Legions were having difficulty. She made a stance to get them back on good, solid financial backing, and she also took a stance to make sure that the Legion was refocusing on veterans as much as the non-veteran members, which was gladly appreciated by a lot in the community. Moving on to some happier notes, as Councillor Rhino mentioned, lots of athletes that play volleyball, both girls and boys, represent many teams from Mount Uniacke. There's players who play for teams that are Windsor, Bedford, Fall River, Sackville, Dartmouth, Halifax, and these athletes are all going to be heading to, I think, nationals in Edmonton is where they're heading, and there's over a dozen athletes from Mount Uniacke or more taking part in that. To go along with that, there was a big cheer competition this weekend at Exhibition Park, and from that, a couple of the cheer teams that have at least 20 representatives from the Mount Uniacke community qualified, and they will be heading to nationals and worlds, both in Ontario and down to Orlando, Florida. So I want to congratulate them on all they've done and what they've accomplished, and best of luck in the future competitions. I'm going to get this out early because it's something that there's a big change happening in Mount Uniacke around our volunteer firefighters fair. It's no longer going to be, it used to be a 3-day event, it used to be a 2-day event, now they're going down to a 1-day event, and changing things up a bit. The theme this year will be A New Air. The parade again will marshal up at the school. It'll take off at 11. The grounds will open at 12. The Ox Pull is back again this year, one of the most popular events for everybody to come out and see. And in lieu of fireworks this year, because of the burning ban they've experienced the last 3 years, at dusk this year, they're going to have a drone show. A drone and light show is going to replace the fireworks because they've had multiple years where they haven't been able to set off fireworks. So they've had the privilege of having some extra money in the bank where they could afford to get a drone show for this year because drones are quite expensive. So that's what's going to happen. That's all on the 20th of June. And then because all the workers are working the parade and doing everything, they're actually going to hold the dance the following week on the 27th. They'll have the volunteer firefighters fair dance that evening. Food and drinks and everything will be there. So it's a great opportunity. If you have any questions or you're looking for tickets, reach out to the Uniacke Volunteer Fire Department. Last weekend, the wrestling event I plugged the last time we were in council, there was well over 150 people attended it at the Uniacke Fire Hall. It was a kid-friendly event. The final picture you see from the event is the winner of the last match, and every kid that was in the building flooded the ring, and they filled the ring and celebrated. And it was really good to see. Lots of smiles, lots of laughs, lighthearted. It was a great way to end March break on a positive note. And I believe that brings me to the end of things going on in District 8. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Mary, Deputy Warden had asked to speak.
Just going back to Councillor Perry's comments and Councillor Rhinos about the bridge. I do know as a fact that CBCL Engineering was out with their bridge specialist for the one in Lance, and I know they were attending a lot of the other bridges in the area. And what they were doing was inspecting the bridges and also using drones up and down the river for blockage and stuff like that. So just so you're aware that some of them were covered. Thank you, Madam Warden.
Thank you. Councillor Merriam.
Thank you, Madam Warden, and here's my update from District 6. I won't be too long, but I would like to I guess direct over to Jesse, and first off, just thanks to Jesse and his team for addressing in the spring. I know there's going to be a fix on the sidewalks in Milford, and yeah, no, I mean I think the sidewalk there is probably a little over halfway through maybe its lifespan, And it's showing wear. There is a pothole that, or an indentation where the pavement has come loose in the sidewalk. So thanks, Jesse, for you and your team for fixing that. And, I guess just again, on the theme of the sidewalk showing wear, there's a lot of fissures, cracks, indentations, kind of falling off at the sides a little bit. I mean, I don't want to make it sound, play it up too much, but the fact is when you walk through it, as I often do, and that's the feedback I'm getting from some residents, is it's just showing its wear. And looking for maintenance solutions, I was just wondering if it might be possible, instead of doing a drive-by inspection, maybe the possibility of having one of the inspectors just do a walkthrough. What do you think of that? Just to see it firsthand and really take note of the condition.
Go ahead, Jesse.
Through Madam Warden, I don't see there being an issue with that this spring for Milford. In general with sidewalks, there you mentioned the drive-bys. That's part of the patrol audit program that the team's trying to establish. But there is an opportunity in the spring, especially with post-winter debrief, to go and take our time and do a more detailed look. So I don't see why not. So staff will plan to do such.
Awesome. Thank you. I do appreciate that. And, the other update is just the fact that I've had regular meetings with constituents over the past month, and I expect to have other such meetings in the month ahead, and no further issues to address at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, councilors, I believe that concludes the business on our agenda this evening. And we are only 16 minutes past our planned hour of adjournment. So anyway, seeing no more business on the agenda, Councilor Mitchell.
Thank you, Madam Warden. Just want to remind everybody here that a young lady sitting next to Tom has provided some snacks in the kitchen, and it's worthwhile to take one as you leave.
Those of us on fire advisory are familiar. Yes. All right, with no further business on the agenda, I would declare the meeting adjourned, and we will give staff time to take us off.